Thanks for everybody coming today. It's almost standing room only. We'll skip over the old business right now from Accurate Controls regarding the jail security system. We'll come back to that here in just a little bit. Under new business, Lori, what was it going to be? Oh, you are here. No, you're not. I'm sorry. So Lori sent us the reports, and so we don't have to vote on this or anything. She just given it to us, and she wasn't going to be here for that. So we just accept it.
Got anything to say?
Anything to say about it?
Right, yeah.
Anything to say
Tell us-
about it?
Yeah, you wanna tell
I have
us
some
about
pictures at the end. Or you just want to
it? You told me once.
Well, when you held your hands up, I figured you didn't want to talk about it.
Oh, I'm good. I added some pictures on the back. I thought it'd be nice for you guys to see some of the kids working in the CTE program, but that's Franklin County.
I like the color.
It was sent to color.
We're cheap. We don't have a color printer.
We need it. So just a couple of things on the radar for just our alternative school. So we had an issue at the building. It wasn't within this time frame of January, March, but we had a fantastic turnout. We had some threats, and so we had collaboration between state police, Secretary of State, Livingston County, and they cleared the place, and it was great. Still, I believe they're still investigating. I really want to get the culprit because of the commotion, anxiety,
You didn't?
mental issues. No, not yet. I haven't heard back.
But it was a good training.
It was great training. But in that process, then we started looking for some grants because we need some updated cameras, software, looking to maybe put some of the 3M film on the front. We have glass doors on the front and the side. So right now, we are processing, getting everything together for that grant to submit on Friday. So for those of you who are writing those for me, I have some letters of vulnerability and why it is being an alternative school and where our location is and the alternative type of building that we have, how important it is that we have some extra safeguards in place, even just to detour students from making poor choices. So that's kind of where we are with that. And then other than that, it's just the basic report. I've added in numbers of times that we're meeting into the buildings, and trying to add some pictures. We're writing for some more grants for the ROE and just trying to continue to move forward, keeping everybody busy as well as myself. Okay. Questions?
How's everything coming with the teacher shortages and that?
That's gonna be slow. But it's coming. They're trying to make some changes. I think they just removed a basic skills test from some of the, so it's kind of redundant. So you go through all of your classes, you finish college, and then you have to take this basic skills test, which maybe you're going to be a kindergarten teacher. Now they've broken down the license from like K1 to 5. Sorry, 1 to 5. And you go in to take a basic skills class that covers calculus 1 and 2. The relevance of that, and then you can't become a teacher, and it just kind of snowballs into so many other things, which leads to teacher shortage. We are, yes, you need to pass calculus if you're going to teach high school math, but I don't know that you need to be able to pass calculus if you're going to be kindergarten, first grade teacher, or even junior high. So I think they are starting to make some changes in the licensing rules to understand that aspect. So I think they're looking into content-based tests rather than just a basic skills test. Basic skills is gone, and I know they're just continually changing so we can get some teachers into the education program.
Where do we stand at the state? I think the Senate passed the minimum salary.
It did.
One of them did. Was it the House? One of them,
44,000.
40,000.
Yeah, it hasn't been passed totally yet, but they do expect it to happen, and it's gonna take place over
Should.
$50 an hour did pass. But that affects schools too.
Right, the minimum wage, and then they were looking at making the minimum wage for teachers getting to 40,000. I think that passed the Senate, but it hasn't passed,
I
hasn't
believe
come
you're
through the
right,
House
it
yet.
hasn't totally, it hasn't passed on both houses, but they expect it to roll on.
And then it will be, as you said, implemented over a 5-year plan?
Right.
Okay.
And it would be, all credit programs, so most school districts pay all TRS, so maybe your salary is 36, but with your benefits, TRS and health insurance, it would be 40. That's really only going to affect, I don't think it's going to affect most of your districts in Livingston County, but it's going to affect all the others. And so all the evidence-based funding that's been being pushed into the schools for curriculum and instruction and teachers, unfortunately, a lot of that money is going to go to salaries now and not go to the kids.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, not to say, I think the teachers is a much higher pay than what they can get. But at the same time, we have to do it. It's a matter of acknowledging what a teacher does and what a doctor does. And what our officers do, everybody, these are people who are protecting our communities and educating our students, who will then become doctors and lawyers.
Maybe not lawyers.
Now then, you need one.
Well, thank you very much. Have another white ash sewer hookup from Harold D. Cook. He's given us everything. We just need a motion to, unless somebody has any questions.
Done. On the border. That's during stuff.
He's done some before.
Huh?
He's had some done before.
What are these, what's he doing? Rental houses or what's he doing?
I just remember his name being on there
Oh,
before.
right,
He's
he's
done some
the same
before.
one.
On this, he's saying residential. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was the one he was gonna build his shed in the back. He's gonna have a 20 by 40 barn, for lack of a better word, but he's gonna put a man cave in there. So, of course, that's easy to see.
His liability insurance says Dean Cook Home, so, I mean,
Yeah, something to do with construction.
I'll make a motion that we approve the white ash sewer hookup for Harold D. Cook.
So,
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Yay. We have from Judge Meyer, a new contract with Daniel Kingman. He's going to be a contract attorney, working over there at an annual cost of $40,000 a year. His term will run from May 1st of 2019 through November 30th of 2019. And so,
somebody leave.
Winston.
Oh,
He's
did-
taking Winston for one spot.
Okay, did he? What's he talking about? Okay.
so the per annum is 40,000, so it would be prorated over, because it's not a full year, but he'd be paid based off of $40,000 a year, so 1/12 a month of that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract for the public defender Daniel Cleveland.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Yay. And Rick, want to read the minutes?
Yeah. Accept the minutes for February 22nd, 2019. Motion.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yes.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Also, I'd like to accept the March 12th, 2019 minutes.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
I'd like to accept the March 18th, 2019 minutes.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yes.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Yay.
Accept the April 9, 2019 minutes.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Brent Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Accept the April 30th, 2019 minutes.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Brent Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Accept the May 1st, 2019 minutes.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yay.
Brent Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
All right. Like to accept into all of the following reports: the public defender report for April, the Williamson County clerk fees account for March, the Williamson County clerk real estate trust for March, the Williamson County clerk mobile home trust for March, the Williamson County clerk vital records for March, the Williamson County general fund for March. Please accept all those. And Highway Department, Craig is not here today. He is on his, he should be in Washington DC right now. I talked this morning. So he is escorting 2 veterans today. So he told me that there wasn't anything really going on special that he wanted to report on. So I just thought I'd pass that along. We have the couple of resolutions here. The court assessment fees resolution. Wendy, is that? Something?
That goes along with the ordinance that's a little further in your packet, which is
For the
the
civil fees?
ordinance establishing civil fees and criminal and traffic assessments. Those pretty much go together.
Okay. Andy, I guess that would fall under you then here, huh?
Yes. You remember library?
Sure. Explain to us, Ricky, what's
Give me a
that?
desk up there or something. I can sit.
Well, we don't want you to take that long. We figure if you stand, you'll get done quicker.
I know. Well, I think we've talked about this before, the last time we were here. We've got Public Act 10987 coming into effect July 1st, which is mandating what the fees are going to be for our civil and criminal cases. And the act has required us to pass an ordinance indicating what these fees are for each type of case filing, whether it be civil or criminal. And got my handy binder that has all of our information in it. And we've got a draft that I believe Andy has prepared, and Rachel and I have went over it.
Judge Blyer has reviewed as
Judge
well.
Blyer, yes, Judge Blyer's looked at it too. And in order for us to implement these fees, July 1, according to the statute, we need a county board ordinance.
Most of what's in here comes straight out of the new act and the newly amended statutes. But it does require the
Now,
board
do
to pass
these
an ordinance.
fees, are they an increase over what we have previously been charging?
Some are, some are not. It kind of depends. Some things are a little more than what we've collected, because the way the act breaks everything down. And it says, so for instance, if somebody's coming in filing a new civil case, it says that, like under Schedule 1, they pay $306. And the act specifically breaks down how that money is to be divided. So we don't get to pick and choose where that $306 goes. It specifies this amount goes here, this goes in this fund, this goes in that fund, this goes here. And so pretty much this ordinance just kind of codifies what's already in the act about where all this money, how much money gets collected and how it gets dispersed now.
Now, if you look at Schedule 1A, the $45 to retain by the circuit clerk, that's split between automation dock storage and the circuit clerk op fund. That is codified or reinforced by a order that the chief judge, Judge Williamson, I signed it and then he signed it. So that's actually on his desk now on how those were split. And our court automation and dock storage and circuit clerk split the 45. So the statute tells me what I can split.
And then how?
Yeah.
Now, the gavel system that we approved yesterday.
Mhm.
So, that system, all of this information, all these fees and everything that's on every one of these pages will be put into this program, or does it already have?
The criminal
split
ones
out.
will be. This covers not only civil, but also criminal. The gavel is only for the criminal. So the civil filing fees, which is the first several pages of this ordinance, is not, gavel doesn't do those, but that's, what gavel covers is costs and fees that criminal defendants pay when they are either found guilty or plead guilty to an offense. And that starts on page 6 of the ordinance under criminal assessments. And that's one of the things that this act does, because previously, as I know we've explained, we would generally just say the word court costs, which means a whole number of statutory fees that the clerk's office was always in charge of making sure were assessed. What this act does is it repeals a lot of those statutes and replaces it with this one new act that pretty much says if you plead to a generic felony offense, you're going to pay this amount and it gets dispersed this. If you plead to a felony DUI, you pay this amount and it gets dispersed like this, so that every county essentially within the state has the same court costs and fees that they're assessing to all criminal defendants.
But gavel will also help pick up the conditional assessments that are
Yes.
not included in this act.
Because these are just court costs and fees. There are other things. There are other fines, statutory fines that are not included in this. Other conditional assessments that are offense-based that are not necessarily included in these assessments. And that's something additional that gavel will pick up on depending on what offense somebody is pleading to. Like drug offenses have special, like street crime values and things like that, and lab fees. Some other, like some of the
Arson has
yeah,
some.
arson has some. I think some of the
Child pornography.
some of the sex crimes have separate fees for different things. I know some of the domestic has separate fees for like domestic violence funds and things like that. So those are some of the additional things that are not necessarily in the assessments. Those statutes are still in place. So those are the types of things that gavel will still help to make sure we are collecting every possible thing we can collect. Because one of the other things that this act does is it creates a new waiver system that we are all apprehensive because we're not exactly sure how it's going to play out. It creates a waiver system wherein if a defendant meets certain low-income criteria, the judge can and in some wording shall grant a waiver to a defendant to either completely eliminate them having to pay this. They can reduce it. They can convert it to public service work instead. So we have a lot of defendants that meet the low income criteria. So we don't know how much the waivers are going to affect this. We don't know if we're going to get a lot of waivers, a few waivers, if our judges are going to be lenient in granting waivers, strict in granting waivers. That's something that we're still kind of waiting to see how the waiver thing is going to play out.
If they get a waiver, then they're going to get a credit.
Then they don't have, it just means they don't have to pay the court costs. It essentially a waiver. There are some things that they would still have to pay no matter what. Not everything can be waived, but these court costs and fees can be waived. However, the waivers don't apply to traffic. So if it's like a traffic ticket only, violations of the Illinois Vehicle Code, the waiver system does not apply to. So this is like misdemeanors and felonies. They can apply for a waiver, so we still hopefully will be able to make a little bit of money off the traffic tickets, but our misdemeanors and felonies, we're just kind of waiting to see how the waiver system's going to work out.
How does the gavel system, if you said that under everything under the criminal assessments
Mhm.
is directly related to the gavel system, the civil,
Mhm.
how do you guys keep track of that? Is that's not part of the gavel system?
No, that's something I think, is that what that's part of what Jim's offers, the circuit clerk's office is part of that software.
And they're
they
from
use.
Carbondale.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
good one.
So
I got it.
civil is more like a filing fee. When the document's filed, they pay that filing fee in my office.
Like,
and
if
then
I'm a
it
private
distributes it
attorney
through our judge.
And I want to go in Angie's office and file a brand new lawsuit, I have to pay a filing fee to do that. That's part of what the civil fees are in reference to.
Okay, I got a phone call back, when we were discussing this at Great Lakes a couple of weeks ago. I got a phone call back from them, and they said that at that time, their people were working on, doing some supplemental work with this, that they didn't anticipate there was going to be any cost. Well, when I got a frantic call back from him about a week later,
From
those guys in Carbondale,
Bit Gooden.
Probably heard.
that there is going to be fees now. They don't know how much, but they are definitely going to be fees involved in this.
I can tell you that I pay a fee, not just for the program, but for the appeal portion, for the jury portion,
That's
for
what's odd me.
the electronic portion, every new add-on that I've gotten and had to get through all this electronic stuff, from the storage, for the battery backup, everything is charged. So I anticipate that they will actually charge that. They charge a first-time fee, and then you pay a yearly license for all everything.
Yeah, my question to him was, well, what's this fee going to? Exactly.
I don't think they're at the point of where they know, there's so much other stuff going on with not only this, but with criminal getting ready to be electronically filed permissively right now, that they're kind of in the middle of dealing with all of that, so. And then there's also the program that they're trying to work with, where you can get online and look at court documents. So they're trying to basically make our case management system work with this Odyssey program. So the amount of new stuff that's went the last 3 years to them is, yeah. So I anticipate that's farther, a year or two out.
We're hands-on as much as possible. We try to do as much of the work as we can so that hopefully they don't lose too much.
Well, and we're like we're in phase one. We're in phase one for the civil electronic filing. We're in phase one for criminal. And that means that there's like, three phases now? So each county picks which phase they want to be in. So we're in phase one of criminal, which means that soon attorneys and pro se people should be able to file their criminal documents electronically. It's not required by statute yet, but we'll be there in a couple of years. But we just kind of try to jump on first and figure out the bugs before it's required.
Yeah, the technology and the modernization of the court system is moving at a very rapid pace. And it's something that some counties are getting a jump start on it. There's some counties that haven't even instituted e-filing for civil, and they keep getting extensions from the Illinois Supreme Court. But I have a feeling those are about to run out. So it's something that's coming for everybody.
So we've been scanning for a few years now in anticipation that when this program comes up, people can look at not just current cases, but back cases.
Which is also why our office has been trying to look more at going paperless and things like that as well.
This, come July 1, when this is to be implemented, there was a provision in here that if things aren't done exactly the way it's supposed to, that there would be fines. Any idea how?
You mean like if somebody's assessed and they don't pay?
Well, no, I don't know that, if they were assessed improperly. If it wasn't, if they were supposed to get a waiver and they're not going to, and that didn't happen properly, or if the monies that they were supposed to be charged didn't get allocated properly.
Provision that says basically they can file inside their case for a motion requesting that things be adjusted or fixed because they were done wrong.
Yeah.
And then there's penalties associated with that. Well, I know in theory, the way I understand it, the theory is that the gavel system will make sure that this doesn't happen. But if it does
That's what we're
happen,
hoping.
How do we make sure that it doesn't?
I spoke with Judge Green yesterday, and he said there was no penalties.
Said what?
He said that it would not be.
That's not the language.
That's what he told me. Because I asked him specifically, I said, if it's not implemented, I said, or implemented wrong after we get it, would there be any penalties? And I said, who would have the authority to issue the penalty? He said there would be no penalties.
The way I read the statute is if someone has a problem with the way their money is being allocated, the first step the statute says is they're supposed to come to my office and inform us that they believe that it is incorrect. We review it. If we agree that it's incorrect, we, get a judge to give us an order, we fix it. If we don't agree, then their next step is to file something in their case with the circuit judge, asking him to or her to review their fees. And then if that doesn't work, then, and if they disagree, then their next step is an appeal. So they've set in a 3-step framework for them to go versus maybe in the past, instead of coming to me and then filing something in their file, they would have filed directly to the appellate court. So it's trying to stop and get questions answered before it gets too far up.
One of the things it does is it allows the circuit judge to retain jurisdiction over the court cost fines and fees in the event that there is something that's not right. That way, if a defendant comes in and says, hey, I don't think this was done right, or I'm paying too much for this, or I don't want to pay that, I shouldn't be paying this, it allows the circuit court judge to still have jurisdiction to go in and try to amend or fix anything if he thinks it needs fixed, rather than the defendant only having the option of going straight to the appellate court.
Right. And so, the Gallup program is going to help us immensely. I mean, you can always have some kind of human error in anything that you do, but that gives us a layer. And then when the word comes to my office and they're putting it in, then we also have our program that's kind of, but, if something's not fitting right, our procedure right now is to go to the assistant state's attorney and say that there's, maybe a discrepancy or something different, and we try to resolve it that way. So there's kind of this makes it a 2-layer double check, which is, it's nice to have checks and balances.
Okay, so we need to pass the resolution, and then we also need to pass the ordinance, correct?
Yeah. And the court assessment fees resolution, there was already, this exact same resolution has already been in place. We just had to amend it to replace the language of the new act with the prior statute.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 19-05-14-31, court assessment fee resolution.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Okay.
Vernon Gentry.
Okay.
Ron Ellis.
Yay. And then we'll skip down to the ordinance, for the ordinance for establishing the civil fees and the criminal and traffic assessments to be charged by the clerk of the circuit clerk of Williamson County, Illinois. Get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 19-05-14-02. Ordinance establishing civil fees and criminal and traffic assessments to be charged by the clerk of the circuit court of Williamson County.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Vernon Gentry.
Yeah.
Ron Ellis.
Yeah. Clear as mud, huh?
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Have a resolution here for the continuation of the employee health insurance benefits to the retiree health insurance for Williamson County, Illinois. This is actually, we've had this in place now, I don't know how many years, quite a while. And it helps dramatically in keeping for the retirees within the opportunity to retire so that they can maintain having health insurance until, easily until Medicare kicks in. So we need a motion to continue this.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Jim Marlowe. Vernon Gentry.
Yeah.
Ron Ellis.
Yay. All right, thing that most people love to have, the real estate tax dates and penalty dates. This year, for the real estate tax, the first installment will be on July the 11th, and then the second installment will be on September the 12th, both of those are 2019. And so coming up real soon, but it's a good thing that we consistently have this collected in July and September. That way our schools specifically get their first installment in August before before their school year starts, so that they know they have guaranteed funding coming in to start with. And then they get their second installment in October. So it helps everybody, but it really helps our school systems to make sure that they have the funds to get started with at the beginning of their school year.
Ashley's trying to get these out, what, first part of June? Tax-
Yeah, that's what Ashley said, that right after Memorial Day, they would be mailed out. So by the end of the month, so people will start getting their bills first part of June. So they'll have about 6 weeks for their first installment. And so we need a motion to accept the dates. And I was just looking here real quick. July the 11th is a Thursday, and September the 12th is a Thursday. So the second Thursday of July and the second Thursday of September is when they're due by. So need a motion to,
I'll make that motion to approve resolution number 19-05-14-34, real estate taxes, payment dates, and penalty dates.
Second.
Jim Marlowe.
Yeah.
Ray Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
yeah. All right. Then we have a couple of appointments here. We'll get back with you guys. We haven't forgot you. We're saving the best for last. Hopefully some good news. The Franklin Williamson County Bi-County Health Board, they have the expiration of the terms for both Dallas Duty and for Brent Gentry. And they're wanting to they're requesting to reappoint both of those gentlemen. Dallas Duty will be a 3-year term, commencing on July 1 of 2019, set to expire June 30th, 2022. And Brent Gentry is reappointed to serve a 1-year term from July 1 of 2019 to June 30th of 2020. So I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 1905-1435 for the reappointment of Dallas Duty and Brent Gentry to the Franklin Williamson County Bi-County Health Board.
I'll second it.
Jim Marlowe.
Okay.
Ray Gentry. Ron Ellis.
Yeah. All right. Good. It's a good board to be on.
I missed a meeting since 2005. That's a good one. Yeah, well, we've had a problem. We had one last night, but it's getting better.
And it's a pretty well-oiled machine now.
State money comes in, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yep.
We have from the Highway 37 North Water District Water Board, we have a reappointment here also. Jason Smith. They would like to reappoint Jason Smith and Dean Grizel to the Highway 37 North Water District Board for another 5-year term, commencing on May 1, 2019 through April 30th of 2024. Have everything here from them, so.
Was that a motion?
Yes,
Okay, I'll second it. I didn't know if you were asking.
yeah, I'll make a motion to accept those.
Jim Marlowe.
Yes.
Ray Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Have a travel reimbursement. This is for me, actually, so on the first one here, I'm going to abstain from this. This was on last Thursday, went to Springfield to talk to the executive committee in the House regarding the gambling expansion bill. It went very, very well. We had 21 people on the committee, and they were engaged. They had different panels that spoke. We were the third group. Emily Burke and I, Emily didn't speak, I did the talking, but went at it a little different avenue than what everyone has. Everyone's always been told, here's what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. I went at it as it's a destination point. Went at it as we're going to put 1,200 plus people to work through the labor unions in building the facility. And then we have over 700 full-time employees. And also with that, we would have, it would be a destination. The casino would be the hook, but the other things, the indoor and outdoor water park, the hotels that would be built, the campground that's going to be there, the wedding venue that's already there, the convention center that would be built to hold house conventions that are much bigger than what we presently have any room for here in the county, and the restaurants. So there's going to be a lot of things there. It's going to be very family orientated. And then we talked about with the largest cities, just the largest cities within a 250-mile radius, take out Illinois, covers 6 states and 4 million people. There's actually 37 million people that live in a 250-mile radius of Williamson County, Illinois. And how we would be bringing money into the state instead of money going out of the state. And that really resonated real well with the a lot of the state reps. There was a question and answer session afterward, after we got done talking. There were 3 of us on our panel, and I had 6 questions asked to me. There was 1 question asked to one of the other gentlemen that was there from Danville. And then when it was over with, went out into the lobby and had 2 of the representatives come out and talk. We talked one-on-one for about 10 minutes after my conversation with them. So it went really, really well. Who knows what Mike Mannigan will permit, but the executive board had a very good understanding of what's going on. And actually it had one of the representatives that came out and talked to me. He was from Chicago. He literally said everything I said on what it would be, on how important it would be to make these destination areas. And then the second in command of this executive committee, he was very interested in putting all the labor unions to work. And so hopefully we'll hear something positive. The hope is that there is going to be a gambling bill. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What some people are wanting to do is split it, and because current casinos are wanting to make 2 gambling bills, there won't be 2 gambling bills passed. It'll either be, what they're wanting to do is increase the sports betting dramatically and be part of that from the Supreme Court decision. And if they can keep it all together, Williamson County could very well have its dream of having the casino. Something that I found that would be interesting, it's always been assumed that Cindy Bunch would be the person that would house it, and it would be out there. In the legislation that is current, that she would put her name in the hat. If anybody else wanted to put their name in the hat, they could be considered for that casino license. So just because they say, okay, Williamson County has been granted the permission to have a casino license, doesn't mean that it would definitely stay with Cindy Bunch. So that would be an interesting situation if that came to pass. But hopefully it'll move forward. So long about, that's what the mileage, that's the trip up there and back.
Whatever Mike says, Ron went to Springfield to gamble.
You know, you gotta go across the line too.
There's no casino in
They
Springfield.
talk about no revenue, but you gotta go across the line.
So the mileage, the reimbursement's $241.86, and then because it's me, I'm going to abstain from this.
I'll make a motion, so.
I'll second it.
Jim Marlowe.
Good.
Bert Gentry.
Yay.
Ron Ellis.
Abstain. All right, the other one is for Mr. Marlowe. He went to a UCCI meeting, and you want to talk about that anybody?
You know, I would say on these UCCI meetings, they're very informative. We had the opportunity to listen to a couple of different speakers on various topics, but we did get to listen to the Secretary of Transportation for the state of Illinois talk about the road system in the state of Illinois, the problems that they're having. The good old days, I guess you could say, are gone, and funding is just a big issue. So they're looking at, you can tell in the news, you know, increases in gas tax and all kinds of other routes that they're trying to pursue. But with UCCI, attending these meetings, as you can look on here, they will, if you attend the meetings, they will reimburse your room up to $75. So my room was $127, you get a reimbursement check of 75, so my room's only $50, basically. So, they do this about once a quarter. Anytime you go to a UCCI, they will reimburse, and sometimes it's greater than $75. Last year, I think, when I went to Galena for the annual conference, it was at a rate of $125 that they would reimburse. So, and I think we might have come out ahead on that one. So these are good programs to go to attend. I encourage any one of you other guys, if you take a desire to attend one of these. Last year, you remember, that's where we learned about the cell tower issue that we had to pass that ordinance. Also, they're very helpful, and you get to talk to other county officials, kind of bounce ideas.
Joining
concerns.
UCCI, I think, was a very beneficial thing
Absolutely.
for
Absolutely.
this
The
county.
great thing about them is they're a watchdog. They keep watch out for legislation that specifically is going to affect counties, municipalities,
Yeah.
and make us aware of those things so we can either fight for them or fight against them.
Absolutely.
And there's so many bills, there's over 2,000 bills that's been introduced this legislative session. There's no way any one person can keep track of that mess. And they do a great job of not only pointing them out, but giving us ideas, here's why this bill's good or why it's not good. And they give you both sides of the issue so you can make an informed decision on whether you want to go for this or not, whatever it is.
Yeah, these are all on credit, there's no money back, it's all credit cards.
It's all credit card.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept Jim Marlowe's, travel reimbursement, everything put on the card.
And you can see on page, whatever, the third page, there's a checklist, and it's $75.
Okay. I'll make a motion, to accept.
I'll second that.
Rich Gentry.
Yeah.
Ron Ellis.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
All right, we purposely skipped over Greater Egypt. That'll be this afternoon. Terry Manis, I talked with him yesterday at our Simcoe meeting, and he's looking forward to coming and talking with us this afternoon about some things that are going on with the enterprise zone in our county. So he's looking forward to that. And now the drum roll. Have you got?
Got some long
Sure, come on
faces.
down.
So I spoke with Accurate Control on a conference call. They have concern with what we proposed, the 80%, roughly 80% now, and then the December 2020. They state concern of the entire fiscal year of themselves without that rest of that payment. Continue to want to try to work out something that works for us. So at this point, the offer we made, hopefully get that resolved and move forward, they cannot do.
That's a different fiscal year.
That before 2020 payment, the finalized payment.
Which,
So they
In
did agree with the
general
original.
conversation of what's real for them, I do believe they would, without missing a full year for themselves, I think we can get something worked out if that's the route. That's go program, so.
But they did agree to the first one where we do
they wrote that.
40, 20, 20, and 20.
Yeah, I remain pretty clear that we don't want to pay any interest if possible.
How'd that go over?
They're still completely open to try to work with us to make sure we can get something worked out.
There's no interest.
They turned down that with 80%.
They're completely fine with that structure. Their concern is themselves missing that final payment coming in 2020, in December of 2020.
Because they would essentially go over a year before they receive the final payment,
Gotcha.
which in their mind, as long as
They're
they're
saying-
getting something every year,
Right.
they're happy. But if they go more than a year without getting something to them, I guess that's
In
not.
their own budget cycle, they're going to show
Right.
no profit for that.
I speak just for me, but I would like to spread it out with no interest. They would do that.
Well, I know at one point you guys also discussed the 80% at signing and the 20% December of 19, which would still split it between 2 fiscal years for you guys, but make it all within 1 calendar year. But that,
There's Sam's financial department there, is they're not a financial institution. So they're not in the business of financing, but they definitely want to work with us.
I would think. But I, you know, I can see the writing on the wall for this next year's budget, and it's not gonna be good, so, I don't know.
or there's also the original plan that Ron had discussed with
Well,
them.
the original plan would be great if they have.
Well, we know they've agreed to that, but it does include the interest. Would you want to see if they want to go back to the original plan with a reduction of interest? Or do you want to?
They're not going to reduce the interest. The 60% of it, 40% in our current fiscal year, then 20% in December, because they're both in 2019. That's why they were willing to do 0% interest, because it's both in 2019. When you got past 2019 and you took it over 365 days, which would happen on December of 2020, they wanted a 5% interest rate, and then a 5% interest rate on the 2021 payment too. And that's what they're saying here.
Well, in the meeting yesterday, Kim was structured that way, how we could afford to pay it.
Right.
But after, in the afternoon, later on, they were doing bills, Stephanie and them was doing bills, and I started seeing some things on the financials that didn't look too good. So I don't know. It's whatever you want to do. I don't care. It'll be a roller coaster this year, so I'll say.
Well, we still have the mechanism for doing it the way it was suggested yesterday, of taking the monies out of the capital improvements and for the jail maintenance. That money's still there. It's not moved anywhere. It's just when we take it out. And, we're only having to take
Still have that.
60%. That gives us actually a little bit more cushion for the current year if we're not funding 80% of it in the next few months. If we're only doing 60%, that still leaves us a little bit of extra cushion that we're going to need, because she anticipated $100,000 is what we would need to cover all the different departments' bills that they pay in November.
Steph, did you make all the transfers yesterday?
You guys have to sign on the claims.
All right, so they're ready to sign,
Everything's ready to go, yeah.
including the 100,000 into capital.
No, it would be used for that. I don't understand the question.
You've got a certain amount of money out of the different areas. So,
Well, what you'd have to do is you take it out of the jail maintenance. That's going to leave you another $93,000 still left in contingency. So you're going to have, your contingency is going to have the $100,000 threshold that she was hoping for coming November.
contingency can dry, so.
No, contingency is going to have another $93,000 in it if we go with the original plan.
With the original.
Well, yeah, I'm saying it's gonna drive the rest going, so.
Yeah, if we funded 80% of it, it would have $50,000 balance in it. If we only fund 60% of it right now, it's going to have $143,000, which is over the $100,000 threshold that she was looking for when she talked about we would have to have an amended budget. We may not have to have an amended budget now. It's still too early to tell. But that would give us another $93,000 in our contingency fund.
So would you say they're rehashing, maybe gonna come back with this? Because it's on-
Everything's sitting idle right now.
So they're using-
They knew we were coming to this meeting, and I left it at that. So,
The more time we take, the longer it's going to take out, because we're still looking at 6 months, or approximately.
they believe they can get started. Obviously, it depends on if everything is approved sometime after Memorial Day. And yeah, it'll take a solid 6 months
to get it all completed.
for this project.
I just know what the finance is gonna be here. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. We'll pay the interest, we don't. We'll try to drop back funds, look a different route.
The interest is about $9,500. spread, but that interest is not paid at one time. $4,700 of it would be paid in 2020. $4,700 of it would be paid in 2021.
But in doing it that way, it might save you from having to amend your budget.
And we
This
very
year.
probably would not have them in the budget.
I almost guarantee that's another.
Well, if you do it through the payment plan that Ron had discussed with them, that will give you a lot more cushion,
Give you another
In your current budget.
$93,000 in contingency fund.
which would certainly help if you do have.
Nobody likes to pay interest, but you know what, that's why you got payment plans on just about anything.
I'm good, how you, I'm good, how you gonna do it, we gotta get things done, so whatever you wanna do. I'll go. See the way you want to go.
Personally, I think the best financial scenario for us is spread it over 4 fiscal years instead of trying to pay it over 2 fiscal years. We do 40% now, 20% in December of this year. That's 60% of it, 0% interest on all of that. And then we don't have to pay any interest until December or the next payment. It'd be $97,250 is what we would pay in December of 2020, and $97,250.
And no more interest that is, to me, as a business, you would think that I would take the 8% now. Because no more interest you're talking about, I mean.
But I understand that from their end of it, they go over 365 days with no payment. And that causes that causes identification problems on their side too. I understand that from a business side.
What I'd like to do is maybe table this to this afternoon, and in the meantime,
We'll
come back this afternoon. I'd like to put a call into Ken to see if maybe there's any other option that we're not thinking of. If not, I think that's probably.
That's the way to go. Okay.
the way to go.
4-year deal.
So nobody likes to pay interest, but it would free up, like you said, the contingency. We would put such a stress on that. So
So we'll still have a meeting next
just
week. We'll
to
vote on
check,
today. We'll
make
vote on
sure
today.
maybe she has some other creative
Be
idea
done with it.
that we're not thinking about. So that doesn't hurt just to check.
Okay.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
guys.
Ellen, Danny, yesterday, I saw the state policeman out here. And I was asking about the truck traffic going. Carol, is that her name? Karen. That was in our office. Okay. Karen. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, he told me, and I don't know if you've contacted Brian. Okay. So he told me go ahead and call Brian Lawrence. And they might put a deputy out there as well, or an officer. Yeah, I told him, I said, she's got all the data as far as the truck traffic goes. So, and he says, no, they're probably awesome.
Yeah, I put a note on the speaking for it.
I didn't,
Calls for service on that.
I didn't want to call Brian if you'd already called him.
Yeah, I can call him.
Either way, I don't care. Okay, fine, then I'll leave it with you.
Okay, all right.
Just so you guys know, I emailed Doug Williams, it was last evening, by the time before I ever got to a computer, and gave him a synopsis in writing of what we talked about yesterday, where gave him permission to go ahead and do the $49,000 in repairs for the jail maintenance for the different projects. I didn't go into specifics of them, but total was $49,000 is what we talked about. Excuse me. And pointed out to him that we had not made the $40,000 payment for 2018, and gave him a new scenario of spreading that out starting in 2020, because the $49,000 would be paid in 19, then we would make the 18 and 19 payments. We would spread that down 2 more years. So 20, 21, 22, and 23, which in December, each of those years is when we make that other $40,000 payment. That would make the 10 full payments of $400,000. We had agreed to pay them for the extra work that was done for the construction of the court roads. So I'd sent that to Wendy and then to Doug. I haven't heard back from him this morning, but verbally, when I talked with him yesterday in there, he said that was not a problem. He just wanted it in writing so he could take
They
it
have a
to the
meeting
board
tomorrow.
tomorrow evening at 4:30, 4 o'clock or 4:30, I'm not sure which one. So that just give you an update there. Have you guys got any questions?
So today we'll have a vote, this afternoon, we'll get it. We're gonna get it one way or another this afternoon, that's how we're gonna do it.
So-
And that's just how you, that's just.
Have you
I
got,
have one
I was
thing
gonna say-
before we go
Okay.
to the public. The dump day, did we already have that?
Yeah, but
How was
the rain, very slow. The rainy day, but it rained all day. Only filled up 6 out of 8 dumpsters.
that's the lowest it's ever been. I know, it poured and poured.
The last hour it opened up, turned sunny.
That was on the 4th, right?
But hey, we opened
We were traveling to Nashville that morning and it poured like 7. Have you got anything you'd like to, any questions or anything? No, thanks, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't have any complaints, but I'd like to request, in our subdivision, the trail estates, road signs. We've had one, we put in the old signs, the old style, short ones, about 4 or 5 years ago, we upgraded to the new fancy ones where you can see with the better post. And we never got upgraded, so I'd like you to come out and upgrade those signs to the new design that you have now. We got missed on that.
it. Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday, Ron, you know where this comes from. I told him, I gave him a number to call,
And then
911.
Well, 911,
We'll set up, and
I
then we'll
called
work
them
together.
today.
I don't
No,
think
they
they
don't.
do that.
They don't do that.
no,
They used to.
they used to, and then there's new legislation with all the consolidation of the 911s. The state legislature took that out of the provision. So 911 is no longer involved in anything to do with signage.
All the houses have house numbers on them, they're all good on
Now, the
that.
house numbers, that's a different story.
Just the street signs.
Street signs.
The street signs.
With the intersection, each intersection. has
Can
a
you
sign.
email what all the streets are, and you know where all the streets are, and what the names are?
I can, but yeah.
I'll give you.
Yes. So now, does,
And then the other thing I had was, they're all county roads that are in there. And way back when we started, there was a problem with the maintenance because of the new construction and damage was being done. So I took over the maintenance of the roads, cutting of the grass and the watersheds and the culverts. And I was like you guys, you're supposed to be doing that. I can't do it anymore. I'm getting too old and I got other things to do. I'd like you to come back and start mowing your right of ways.
What
Well,
we'll have to do there is, I'm not saying no, but we'll have to talk to Greg
I
because
did,
if
yesterday,
If
he
the
knows
roads-
what's up.
if the roads are under the motor fuel tax, that's one thing. If they've never been turned over to the county, that'd be
But
another
there's also
issue.
no scenario to his subdivision. There's a HOA, homeowner association that's being formed. And really, once that's formed, he's out of it,
Right.
okay? They're over it.
The
So-
HOA would.
So they would have to be the one coming requesting the thing from us. And
Well, I'm requesting because I just said they thought about it. They haven't formed it.
No, I got a message, they are forming one.
Well, but they haven't done it. So right now, this is supposed to have been done with the developer 10 years ago. So you guys are 10, I haven't requested it. I could have requested it 10 years ago for the signs and for the road maintenance. I've been doing the road maintenance at my cost, mowing the grass. So you guys come in with the big tractors and you mow. They came in that time and they did damage because they didn't know the construction was finished. They said, hang on for a while. Well, 16 years went by. I've been doing it for 16 years and that's it. I'm not asking for any money, I'm not complaining, but I want you guys, you were originally and legally supposed to mow the grass on the county right of ways.
wait,
And I'd like you to take over.
let me ask this, just from my understanding, does the subdivision have to be accepted before that happens? And has
Oh,
the
yeah, they gotta
subdivision
be up to standards and all that. I talked to Greg yesterday, there's no problem.
I
on
was
the side.
accepted 20, 15
He
years
said,
ago.
he said,
I didn't know.
yeah,
I
he
was
said,
accepted years ago.
he said there's no problem. I told Butch that I had Greg on the phone, he said, no problem whatsoever of mowing, but they're not got the mowers going yet, so we started probably in a week, 2 weeks.
Okay,
He said, not a problem at all.
all right,
But it,
okay.
there's not a problem.
Right, and I was gonna notify the different real estate companies that had moved their signs and stuff.
Who mows your empty lots or Do you do that, or?
I jacked your whole thing. Well, I'm gonna be in debate with the HOA because they're supposed to pay $100 fee every year. They haven't paid it for the last 10 years, so I have to take them to court. They want to file an HOA. They don't want me to be a HOA. They don't want to pay me. They owe me like $65,000 in capital expenses and stuff. They're trying to get out of paying me. So now they're gonna form their own HOA. So that's my thank you I get for taking care of things for all those years. Anyhow,
Who was the developer?
I was.
Oh.
I'm the developer, that was the problem. Yeah, I didn't get paid. They all were nice and sweet, and now it's time to pay. They don't want to pay. Anyhow.
Okay, just tell the road signs, the names, the locations, all that.
Yeah,
Put it on writing.
if you've been anywhere in the county, you've got them nice new signs, and we still got them little old lime green ones, remember? And the little tiny crunchy post. You 6 years ago, I think you upgraded to like a 3-inch post and a nice, nice big sign. We never got upgraded, they missed us. That's all I'm asking.
Was that 911 that did that?
Huh?
Was that 911 that did that?
Back in, probably so. And I'll forward it to him once I get it. Just
Yeah, 'cause I
the
called him.
locations and that,
I called the guy you said, he said they don't do that anymore.
Okay, so that
Who's
would definitely be 911.
Who's they? Who?
The 911 people, they used to do the signs,
Right.
they don't do them no more.
DJ Stewart is the person that just took over.
Well,
And
That's
but you're right.
You're
You're exactly right. 911 is not under their jurisdiction. The only thing 911 does is if you have a new house, they will institute the new address for that location.
Oh, right,
whether it's in the
right.
city or the county.
Well, we've already got all addresses laid out though from way back when, but it's plat.
So we need names and locations.
Yeah, we've got all the addresses for all the lots from,
Right. But that's the new function of 911. That's their new function. They don't do anything.
Can you scan a plat of your subdivision and kind of where you want, where the signs need to be? Email,
They're just in the exact spots where they are now, just plot one, put another one there. There's not,
just once those replies.
we just want to replace the ones that are there, there's no new ones.
Okay.
I mean, we got cul-de-sacs, do you not put a sign at the end of the cul-de-sac?
I've never seen it in the cul-de-sac. I don't know why you'd want one in the
Well, I
cul-de-sac.
mean, if you're a half mile to the cul-de-sac and you've driven down that road.
You'd only have one at the where the turn.
Your cul-de-sac, you're gonna
There's
turn around and go back out.
one at the intersection, but if you drive all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac, and now you're a stranger and you're down and you have an emergency, you have no,
No, they don't.
They don't.
you don't have, you can see the number on the house, but you don't know what street it is.
I'm sure you do, because when you turned into
Turn around, go back out.
But if you missed it and you're down there and the emergency's down at the end, I
They
don't
need
know.
to slow down.
I don't know, I don't
There's
know.
only gonna be, I can tell you this right now, there will only be one sign at the beginning when you turn in.
Right.
That's the only place you're gonna see a sign. The
Well,
only
but I've
place.
seen it in other places, that's why I'm asking. So
Then if you see it other places, it's somebody else is paying for it on their own
Well, I
dime.
don't mean in other counties or in other states or whatever, I mean, I've been,
Not in Illinois,
I don't know. I'm just asking, I don't know.
not in Illinois.
Okay.
You're gonna see one sign only, right where you have the street, you got the street coming this way, and then you're gonna turn into the
And we-
cul-de-sac.
And
it's
we
gonna be
have
right
those,
there.
but I'm saying we've got the little tiny ones. and
I understand.
We've upgraded to.
But that wasn't the question. The question was, can we put a sign, a street sign back at
On the
into
cul-de-sac,
the cul-de-sac? No.
No.
Because we've got like a street light and the poles for the utilities that are, it'd be nice to have a sign. I mean,
Be right there at the front.
there'd be room for it, but yeah.
So all I need is just the current signs that you're about, no cul-de-sac signs. just the
Just
current
replace the current signs that are there. There's only four of them, so it's, but they're twisted and broken, you can't read them because their paint's chipping. They're 16
signs.
years.
Good, and I'll send him, don't worry about it, I'll send him.
So yeah, I wasn't complaining, I was just making a request. I usually complain, he knows that I like to complain. I'm not complaining, I'm just saying we need the signs that look nice, and
You want the nice green signs that reflect, so
whatever
you
they
can
are.
see them at night.
Well, I mean, just people live there. I mean, people-
Not right
And then the
now.
mowing, I've been mowing the grass on the 50-foot right of ways. It's a 50-foot county right of way all the way through on all the roads. I've been doing that mowing for 15 years. Only because, anyhow, I'd like you to come back and start doing it. He said he'd already talked to Greg and Greg said,
No, he's a no problem at all.
he said he'll put it in. So yeah, so we're good, I guess.
Okay.
Like I say, I'll send you the plat, the addresses.
It'll be fine, yeah. Well, I'll just, he's on the veterans flight today,
Yeah, I
unfortunately.
heard.
So he'll be back tomorrow, so. That'll be fine. All right, Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Okay, no,
So we come back at 1:30?
We
right?
need to recess.
So we need to read, I'm done.
No.
Hey, Jim wanted to say something.
Oh, no, I was just
Oh,
saying, I need to talk to Wendy right after.
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk, I thought you wanted to,
No, he broke it. He said something about something a while ago.
oh, that was what you wanted to talk about? I thought you said right before he talked, there was
It's
something
about
else. you
the,
wanted-
it's about the.
Oh, the update, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to recess to 1:30 PM.
Second.
Jim Marlowe,
Okay.
Rich Gentry,
Okay.
Ron Ellis.
Yeah.
Before you guys run off, if you could get Stephanie, we'll have you sign everything for today.